Hello, I'm Oscar Crawford. Welcome to the teaching ministry of New Eden. Thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk to you about a number of things as we just take a look through the Bible to establish some reasons Christians believe what we believe, and a conclusion that I have personally reached that I want to share with you. Something that is a condition of all human beings everywhere on planet Earth. All of us struggle with the same struggles. We have the same makeup. We engage life the best we can, and I'm going to try and make some sense out of all of it for you today. Thanks again for joining me. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the privilege to share with friends and loved ones and guests again today. I pray that you might use me in such a way as I speak to where people live in their hearts and minds, and help open up some doors to new ways of thinking and considering that would bring about peace personally and peace collectively, that we might share a living experience second to none that would be filled with joy and with purpose. That is my prayer today in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Now, what I will be doing is I will be listing a number of scriptural references on your screen so you can understand where I'm coming from. But I want to talk to you literally from the beginning to a contemporary understanding of the invisible, intangible God creating everything that is out of nothing. Now, that's a little difficult for humans to wrap their minds around, and truly there is a wide range of beliefs on how God did what God did. I am suggesting to you and affirming to you that I do believe that out of nothing God created everything that is, and that you and I are part of it. If we are witnessing what I'm sharing with you today, we are part of that ongoing, unfolding creation. From the account from early Genesis, human beings really didn't deliver God's expectation of us behaviorally. If God said do it, we didn't. If God said don't do it, we did. And so we've been kind of caught up in that scenario since the beginning. We have these reciprocal kinds of behavioral motivations alive inside of us. The Apostle Paul will later say in the New Testament, "When I would do good, evil is always present with me." The good that I seldom get around to doing it. The things that I'm sure that I never do, I find myself doing that a lot. What is wrong with me, or what is up with me? Well, here's the true truth. Whatever is going on with us, we did not create ourselves. Now, many will suggest to you that it is as a result of the fall of humanity in the Garden of Eden that we have all inherited these diametrically opposed emotions going off at each other all the time. I'm going to declare to you that that is the way that we've been made, and we are evolving to the better being that we can become with God's influence and direction and the love of good people around us and support systems that we put in place. All right, so from the beginning, God created, people disappointed, God got angry, God spanked, God punished, and so people were sort of left on their own to work their way through. But people really didn't change, and so when there began to be what would be considered lots more people than from the beginning, then people just had things on their mind that God didn't really want them thinking about. Now, this may be difficult for you to wrap your mind around because God knows everything, can do everything, is omnipresent. How wouldn't God know this? Those are not questions that I can really answer for you. I can say this, that human beings do have a propensity to do wrong. And a number have the propensity to do right. And I believe many of us aspire to do right and live well. Doing it is an altogether different thing. And I want to talk to you today in just a bit about how we get to that. And if I put a title on what we're talking about today, I call it Harmony, the Dance of Reciprocal Order. Harmony, the Dance of Reciprocal Order. We're neither good nor bad. There may be some of us we think that person is absolutely evil, that person is absolutely a saint. I got news for you. We are neither either or. We're something in the continuum. And to make this plain, I'll get to that in a bit. I just want to walk through a little bit more about God's response to the disobedience of human beings. God is reported to have destroyed the known world at the time, with the exception of one family who boarded a boat. And I'm sure many of you have heard the story of Noah. If you really need to get it in ways that you can really get it, listen to Bill Cosby's account of Noah. And then you might look at one of the Almighty movies where Morgan Freeman plays God. You get some notion, even George Burns. So there have been a number of people who try to capture God's interaction with human beings from time to time in film and in story. But we're all trying to make sense out of that because we are here. We know that we are here. At a point, God decides that human beings really just can't get it together and elects to become a human being. And he became a human being in the person of Jesus, to the extent that all the expectations that God had upon humanity would be lived out in the life of Jesus. So in the living out of the life of Jesus and the shedding of blood, then all of God's expectations on humanity were met once and for all, and now we're literally free to live. Now, am I saying to you that I believe that you're free to do wrong? You're free to do whatever you choose. But the maturing person who would live responsibly with regard for self and God and other people would not seek intensely just to do wrong for the sake of doing wrong. You have the privilege to live at your highest level of development. Now, when I start trying to account to you for things that go on in your environment, if you live in the United States as I do, you are aware that we live out several prejudices, right? There are people who are white who have no regard for anybody who is not white. It's just the way it is. And there are people who are regarded as people of color. I don't really like that because to set it in contrast, you have to set the people of color in contrast with the people of no color. Oh, that's sick, but it's kind of how we process. We process in lines of a continuum that go horizontally and lines that go vertically. I hope you can stay with me because I'm about to share something with you that's really deep, but will really clear up for you why we do what we do. When we look at that continuum horizontally or vertically, there is a point in the middle that we would regard zero. It's the point of beginning going in any direction, up, down, or to the side, back and forth. That point is called the middle. When you look at weighing things, if you talk to people about balancing things, people have no regard for what literally being in balance means. Being in balance means equal distribution of weight on both sides of the middle. It means literally being at zero. And nobody wants to live there. That's not who we are. It's not what we do. And so we find ourselves one way or the other. And I'm saying to you that this dance of reciprocal order is harmony in the way we live. Sometimes our harmony works for us. It doesn't always. All right, so to give a really practical example, if you can picture in your mind, and I will draw one for you, you'll be able to see it, but if you will see the plus sign, the plus when you're making addition, we just want to see the plus sign. We want to use it as a symbol. This is literally called a Cartesian equation for those of you who may want to do some research of it on the web later on, the Cartesian equation or the Cartesian Formula. If you think of numbers going across, on the right side of zero would be plus numbers, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. And on the left side of zero, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. Up you would have plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. And down you'd have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. That is the setting. And I'm going to suggest to you that in our minds, the way our framework for thinking has evolved, we think of things in this symbol to the right and up as good. Things to the left and down as bad. Now I know I'm into somebody's politics because we talk about left and right, left wing and right wing, liberal and conservative. And so we park those things in good and bad. Now let me tell you, it shouldn't make sense. I just want you to know that this is what it is. If you look on the continuum and you put a plus in the upper right and a minus in the lower left, and you start to put ideas under those, you begin to realize that we actually are caught up into a thinking system that we didn't give to ourselves. And I declare unto you today that even if we threw it away, we would be bound to starting it all over again. Now, what am I talking about? If we take the ideas of male and female, and the New Testament scriptures tell us that God is he has no favored persons, right? So it would mean that God doesn't discriminate between being male and being female. And yet we know that our culture, in some historical context, has regarded the value of being male greater than the value of being female. So in the context of the symbol I'm drawing up for you, male would come under the plus and female would come under the minus. Now I need you to take issue with that. That is just the way, if you look back over the history of North America and many places around the world, you will regard that what I'm sharing with you is true. I'm not saying that it's good, I'm just saying to you that it is true. Perhaps evolving, but true. There are some nations, on earth that sell their daughters. just seldom. There are other nations, where there are limitations on how many children can be born. If a daughter is born, they'll take the child out and just allow that child to die if it's a girl. I am saying to you, not that this is right, it is just the way that we have witnessed some management of the gender differences in our country. Now, if we add the context of heterosexual and homosexual to the symbol, culture has generally said, and many still fight for, that to be a heterosexual human being is qualitatively better than being a homosexual human being. Oscar's not saying that to you. I'm delivering to you today the way historically and contemporarily for many how things are observed and acted out. So if we looked at the symbol, we would see that being male and heterosexual is a good thing, and being female and homosexual is not such a good thing. Please hear me. I'm not supporting this. I'm just delivering it to you so you can get a clear picture of what I'm talking about. This is the way our minds are established to think in a mathematical equation built around the idea of plus and minus. In the East, people might consider it yin and yang. And, yin and yang never become one in the symbol. They're always dancing around each other. I'm saying to you that too is an illusion. It is not real. These things are not separate. They are one. You are one composite human being with all these reciprocals trying to find harmony as they dance out the opposites all the time. All right, so we've established that by tradition, being male and heterosexual is regarded a good thing. Well, guess what? Let's put black and white under these things. Well, human beings have a notion inside our programming that says the dark is not so good and the light is really good. So as we apply those basic things from perception of sunlight and the ability to see in it to the dark and the ability not to see in it, we put a value judgment on that. And so we say that things in the light are good and things in the dark are not so good. So people who are white are regarded to be good and the people who are dark, not so good. Please hear me. I am not selling you that as something that I want you to aspire to. I'm trying to share with you what human beings' minds do and how we live these things out so you can make much better choices in your behavior and in your thought. The Bible says in the book of Psalms, King David is on record as having said this, "For I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and my soul knows that right well." Now, if literally we are fearfully and wonderfully made, created in the image of God, then we ought to aspire to greater than our programming. If we regard our programming not to be meeting our personal and social needs well, we ought to make some better choices. And instead of being locked into a mathematical equation, harmony, the dance of reciprocals, trying to make sense out of themselves, as we become aware that we can make some better judgments and become a great deal more self-aware. Now, I know this is not simple today. I've really hesitated sharing this because I don't know how many people get it or even care to, but I need to understand what motivates my behavior. And I believe that there are a number of us who are trying to understand why we do what we do. Why do I like what I like? If I regard a thing to be wrong, why do I want to do it? And literally, I'm going to say to you, there are some things I regard to personally be wrong, but I want to do. And I know you do too. Look, I am not that different from all of you who may have opportunity. We struggle within ourselves to do what we believe the highest level of good and right. Okay, so if we looked at some other things, if we looked at prosperity and poverty, prosperity would always come out on the plus side and poverty on the minus side, the not so good side. If we looked at sickness and health, health will come out on the plus side and sickness on the not so good side. And so many things as we regard them, we regard tall to be better than short. I'm going to say it one more time. Don't hear Oscar Crawford supporting that point of view. I'm suggesting to you that you need to be involved in your point of view instead of letting your programming dictate to you point of view, because people are being hurt all over the world from some fools. Please hear me. Immature, foolish human beings acting out programming without engaging it and being responsible for their behavior. Some people have said, the devil made me do it. Well, I got news for you. The devil may have made you do it, but you did it, and so you are to be held accountable for your behavior. All of us are to be held accountable for our behavior. All right, now, here's the beauty of this presentation for me to share with you today. Inasmuch as God seemed to have been displeased with created human beings, God owned up God owned up to God's perception and relationship with human beings and elected to love at a higher level than we had observed previously. God loved humanity so much that God became a human to meet God's own expectations, because none of us had significantly been able to do it, to get it done and resolve once for all, that we might be free to live a life aspiring to our highest ideals of love and kindness and goodwill and sharing and developing relationship, building solid personalities and families and communities, states and nations and a global community. That is our privilege today. Our privilege is not to live to the dictates of programming, but to become so self-aware and developed that we might say, just like King David, for I, Oscar Crawford am, and you may put your name, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am awesome in my being. I am awesome in my being just because I be, ebonically speaking. Because I am, because I be, because I exist. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That is the context of my awesomeness. And when I have the perception of my awesomeness, I'm not locked into a plus or a minus. I aspire to be at my highest level of being and of love and of service. And I can walk away feeling good about having given the best of my life that I have to offer to God, to myself, and to other folks. I hope you're hearing me. Look, if you'd like to talk to me some more about harmony, reciprocal order, how not to be a zero and living at zero, and how to get rid of the concept of balance. Balance is BS. Balance does not exist in the human emotional context. Nobody wants to live at zero. If you'd like to talk with me more about that, talk to me, send me an email. Have an email address for you there on the screen. I would love to consider that more with you, and likely I will engage this more over time. It's a developed subject. I really need to write more too. I haven't really felt ready to just really get it to the page, even though this concept came to me almost 25 years ago, maybe a little longer, and I've been working with it and sharing it and teaching it. Got a PowerPoint that I can share with you if you'd like to have a PowerPoint, but I believe that once we become aware of ourselves, we can make better decisions in our best interest and in the interest of those who share our lives. I'm Oscar Crawford. Thank you for joining me for the teaching ministry of New Eden.